I have here a beautiful lotus flower. And the reason why I have this lotus flower here is because it showed up to me in life in very many ways, and I feel that it has a very potent message for us right now, which is to really activate our dream consciousness. Welcome everyone, my name is Jennifer EIREEN from the Web of Wonder, and we have another full moon in a couple of days, so I'm here to help you make sense of what's going on and to help bring your thoughts and ideas in alignment with meaningful, purposeful action and to help you transmute any emotions on the way. So first of all, I would like to say that we have an increase in geomagnetic energy, and that is very much due to the solar flares. There's been a peak in energetic emission from the sun. You may have been feeling this because these energies move through our body and we are actually physically able to sense energy. So these geomagnetic storms, these solar flares, we feel them in the body. Probably it's different for everyone, but maybe you've had symptoms of feeling super tired or not being able to sleep at all, or feeling especially tense, having little aches and pains, also confusion or extreme emotionality. And as we go through these cycles of experiencing these energies, we will be able to adapt to them. I mean, the human body is such an amazing place. It's such an amazing tool for adaptation. I mean, that's how we've been able to survive and thrive for aeons, because the body keeps channeling the information that is around through its being and analyzes it, and then sometimes makes alterations. And in some cases that turns out to be bad, where then we experience illnesses or the cells kind of malfunction or deteriorate in ways that we can't longer function in the ways that we wish to. And on the other side, in some ways, it also causes positive adaptations and even this like superpower syndrome, where maybe suddenly you're able to do something that you weren't able to do before, and that's great. So there's always two sides to the spectrum. But going through these intense energies is for sure something that we may be experiencing more often in the coming years. And I believe that that is for two reasons. First of all, we can align things that are happening in the earth with moments in the astrological cycle. So if you're a nerd for astrology, I invite you to start looking at really pivotal moments in history or herstory of occurrences in the world and looking up the chart of those times. And then you can do analysis and you can really geek out on your inner scientist, which is great because it also brings us into alignment with the Gemini and Sagittarius axis, which is where the full moon is happening right now. So the full moon is sitting in Sagittarius while the sun is sitting opposite of that in Gemini. And I'll get back to that in just a moment. But yeah, when we look at these occurrences, we can notice that transits are sometimes really activating moments for certain things to happen. And when we look at the transits over time, over the period of 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 100,000 years, we can start noticing what these transits represent. So we have had a Uranus conjunction with Jupiter, and that was already a month ago on the 20th of April. And this is the beginning point of a 14-year cycle until they conjunct again. So what that tells us is that the kind of energy that we're experiencing right now is because we are entering into a new phase of a cycle where, as anything in life, when you start something for the first time, we have some fears and we need some more practice and we don't know yet how to do it. Think of a person learning to ride a bike or learning to swim. It's uncomfortable at first. Yeah, and the body needs to learn how to adapt. And so over time, we may start to feel more accustomed to these energies, but right now we're like 1 month into the 14-year cycle. So we're like in baby shoes right now. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why this energy is so intense right now. And the other reason is because we're also entering into a ring of photon bands that is measurable in the universe. And this is the beginning of a 2,000-year cycle. So every 2,600 years, we travel for 2,000 years long through this ring of an increased amount of photons. So we are interacting with these photons. They are interacting with us. Their light, their energy, their information. So what we're experiencing right now feels very, very potent and also so overwhelming because we are increasingly flooded with information and new experiences. Our senses are learning to cope with these informations, to utilize them. And I feel that also this will become more manageable over time, but we're at the beginning of a 2,000-year cycle. So it's like we're not even in the baby shoes yet. We're like preparing for birth right now. We're like in the womb being formed. I think, yeah, that explains some of these intensities. And all of this is happening because it's part of bigger cycles. So it's natural for these things to happen. So we can trust in the meaning of cycles, in the power of cycles, and try to relax our nervous systems into what is happening so that we can actually, when we are in a relaxed, when we're in a kind of meditative state of mind, we can actually see, we can actually notice the information that is there. We can actually witness it. We can actually decode it. And then we can feel a sense of enlightenment from what is happening rather than just a sense of overwhelm. It might not make the overwhelm disappear, but it can for sure help to find more meaning. When we find meaning, we start to comply with the flow of the universe rather than against it. And when we go with the flow of things, we use less energy, so we're less tired, we're less exhausted. So that being said, let's focus on the full moon. We have the moon, as I said, in Sagittarius, and the sun is sitting in Gemini. So what does this mean? The sun, our consciousness, our ego, your way of identifying yourself, your means of creating a personality, a story to work through, to shine as, and to express yourself by, is right now in the sign of Gemini, which is a lot about communication, intellectual wisdom, and really understanding how things influence each other. It's the sign connected with interdependences, and really understanding how movement causes movements elsewhere. It's the sign that is known to swing kind of back and forth, because it's constantly expressing and witnessing and then really able to analyze and understand different perspectives of things. And we have, with the full moon, both a moment of tension as well as a moment of culmination. We can remember that tension is also a moment of release, because when there's very, very, very much tension, there comes a moment where it will be too much and it releases. There's the moment in the cycle, that is the full moon, where the information is being expressed outwards so that it can then fulfill its cycle and we can begin to renew again. So we have a tension, but we also have an intense potentiality for understanding, for something to be released from us. Because we understand it, we don't longer attach ourselves to the tension. We don't need to continue playing out the story. So we can let it go, and that's when the transformation can begin. And at the same time, the moon also represents our emotions, our sense of nourishment, our ability to adapt to life. And when the sun is shining all of its light, or the sun is always shining the light, but when the moon is reflecting back that light, all of that light, making it also like equal in size to the sun, it's reaching a moment where it is allowing for more of that identity to be expressed through emotions. And it's also allowing for more of that essence to be taken in as nourishment. Through that intense opposition, we also have a bigger potential for understanding how to utilize the energy in a complementary way. So by having that other perspective, we can bring something more into our nourishment, into our emotional realm, and into our subconscious, because the moon also represents the subconscious realm and everything that is hidden, that is usually hidden, because right now we're able to see much more of it. You can also tell this when you just walk outside, because when there's a full moon, it's almost as if you can suddenly see in the dark, and that shows us that we can see things that we usually don't see so much. And what is the moon in Sagittarius telling us? Well, Sagittarius is a sign that is right across from Gemini, and Gemini is about collecting information. It's about gathering, and it's about traveling in between different realms. And Sagittarius, on the other hand, is asking the question of, what do we do with all of that information? What is this for? So one way you can look at it is giving meaning to something. And that is why Sagittarius is related to the philosopher or long-term travel, because it's usually things that have a bigger purpose, a bigger meaning beyond the day-to-day and beyond the surface level information. So someone who travels long-term maybe has a purpose that goes beyond just being in one specific place, but is a purpose that connects all of the places they visited together. And being a philosopher is about going beyond just receiving a little bite-sized piece of information and really trying to find out more and trying to take all of the information and making it into something of meaning, giving it almost like a container of meaning. So with this full moon, we also have a few very prominent placements of other factors of the chart. We have Jupiter in conjunction with Venus in 29 degrees of Taurus on the same day of the full moon. So with Jupiter, we have abundance, expansion, protection, love, but essentially Jupiter is the planet representing wisdom. While the Sun is the ego and the conscious self, Jupiter is the wise self that takes consciousness and applies it through lived experience into something that then becomes prosperous and becomes abundant because it has been given meaning and because it's used in a reflective way that supports. That's why Jupiter is the great benefactor. And Venus is all about love, showing us what is desired, what we want, and how we want to feel, and in which ways we want to attract those things and experience it. So Venus and Jupiter together are merging their conversations. So it's about what to attract. It's bringing up the themes of what do we love, why do we want it, what do we value. And it's also in Taurus, which is a Venus-ruled sign. So it's really heightening the topic of the material value. What do we value in the material realm? And that includes the body, but it also includes our material resources. It also includes everything that is tangible and that we can sense with our bodies. Jupiter brings the perspective into that Venus orientation of really asking, why do we want the things that we want? How can those things bring us greater wisdom? And how can our greater wisdom help us attract those things? Jupiter will expand anything that is in your Venusian reality right now. So Jupiter is not always only a pleasant experience because first and foremost, Jupiter is expansive, it's opening. So if there are topics there that might be uncomfortable, or if there are shadows there, if Venus is expressing through shadow qualities, or if you have something in your natal chart in that degree that is still expressing more through shadow than through the light consciousness, then Jupiter can also open up that, enhance that, make it wider, make it bigger, so that it's really there, it's really visible. And so it may also just bring situations into extremes. But ultimately, those extremes are there because when we don't listen, life gets louder, because life is a reflection of your internal self. So when you don't listen to something you're feeling, sensing, noticing, something that is important, then you will try to make it more apparent for yourself to understand. So as long as you don't understand it yet, it may keep getting louder and louder until you decide to listen. And once you have that understanding and that wisdom, that is when it's integrated, and then you can shift the situation again because you're at a different level of consciousness. So this is a huge potential to really shift your consciousness of the material realm, of the relationships. Venus is also, of course, love relationships, yeah, but it's also the things that you love. So shifting your relationship to the stuff you consume, the literal tangible stuff that you consume, shifting your relationship with the natural world, shifting your relationship to art, shifting your relationship to money and other things that we value. Because money is also just a representation of value. So we have those two in conjunction. And this is interesting because we have had 2 more conjunctions, actually 3 more conjunctions, just a couple of days ago. Like on the 18th of May, we have had 3 conjunctions between 2 planets each on exactly the same day, which is quite rare, and it's just been a really intense week. So the first conjunction on the 18th of May was between the Sun and Jupiter. And every time the Sun passes by a planet, it's also a moment of heightened consciousness, and it's a moment of burning away the old layers and purifying and kind of bringing the awareness to the next level, and the purification of renewal. So the Sun was renewing and purifying that Jupiter, and at that same moment, Venus was in direct conjunction with Uranus just a few degrees earlier in Taurus. This was also on the 18th of May. And the third conjunction on the 18th of May was Mars with the North Node. So these are a lot of players of your psyche that are having, like, it's like you're in a cafe. It's like your psyche is a cafe, and there are like 3 business meetings at 3 different tables, and they all know each other, and they're like in the same group of friends circle, and they've just also been meeting the other friends like just a few days ago, and then now they're there in a meeting with whoever is in front of them or next to them at that moment. And Venus in conjunction with Uranus brings also the awareness of innovation, of interruption, of change, of, electrical currents, which is information, which is movement, and which is also enlightenment. Bringing that to the Venusian realm in the physical world. And at the same time, the complementary planet, that is Mars, because it's the yin and the yang, and Venus is more like the yin and Mars is more like the yang. So we have the yang energy in conjunction with our destiny, and showing us the point where we want to resolve karma by taking new and different choices and approaches, and by stepping outside of the comfort zone into the unknown, into the big jungle of experience, beyond our comfort zone, outside of our old castle where we feel safe and where we are feeling in power. So it's about also stepping into the places where we have a fear to overcome. And Mars and the North Node are having a conversation about that and what to do with that. So all of this is happening on the same day, which is a lot of conversations, which may also be one of the reasons why we have been so tired last week, because that's a lot to process. It's like when you're in a cafe or in a bar or in a park, and there's so much chatter all around you, and you can kind of even hear everyone else's conversations, and maybe when you arrive home, at least if you're introverted, you may need to sleep and rest and chill out a little bit. And even if you're extroverted, I think you also need that. I think we just naturally as humans need that balancing, just some more than others. What all of this is telling us is that we have a lot of conversations right now. And these conversations are happening because it's like we're making new contracts for the next years to come with ourselves, because it's your soul on a journey. And you are at a moment right now where you have been given so much potential, and so much can happen, so many things can change, and we are really at a point where the energies are increasing through the photon belt and this radiation, and we are ready to jump into different storylines, into different timelines, into different consciousness. And in order to do that, we really need to have those conversations, because we want to reach our dream life. We want to really physically manifest those dreams. The dream realm is being highlighted right now also because the moon is in trine to Neptune, which is in Pisces. It's an interesting trine because it's not a trine between fire and fire, as it usually is. Now we have a trine between the moon and a water sign. And that's beautiful because Sagittarius is really connected to bigger visions, bigger purpose, and expanding the horizons. And that's also something Pisces can do very well. It's about expanding the horizons. It's about diving deep into the waters, into the unconscious of unity, of love, of the bigger connectedness of life. It's about that dreaminess that comes from a place of being able to pick up and sense information that is from a world beyond just the physical. It's the place from where fantasy novels come and our dreams literally are formed, because in the dream realm you can do things that you don't know how to do with a body in a normal day-to-day environment. So right now with this trine to the moon, it's becoming a resource for us, for our emotions. So we can utilize the information from our emotions and we can help to design those dreams in a way in which they help us really expand our horizon, in a way in which they really utilize that sun energy as complementary, that gathering knowledge and focusing on the details and being able to understand how things interrelate and how movement occurs, all Gemini topics, and also understanding the polarity. We're able to reflect that through our desire for nourishment and to find a bigger meaning, a bigger purpose, and then we're able to channel that into the visions and the dreams that we create for the world, the dreams that you create for yourself. On the other hand, you can also literally help figure stuff out and soothe your own emotions in the dream realm. I feel we have a huge invitation to work more consciously with the dream realm, because it's another world that you go into every night and also throughout the day, because we are also dreaming kind of always. Yeah, whether you're imagining something, whether you're daydreaming, whether you're in a process of creating something, be it an artwork or a story or a business idea or something, it's always kind of a similar process of dreaming. And using your imagination, you can also just imagine stuff that doesn't exist in real life. So it's a real superpower. And it reflects in the same way that we are reflected by the bigger cycle of the cosmos. Everything in life reflects each other. So our dreams also reflect our personalities, and the dream landscapes can tell us a lot about the psyche and about social interactions and how cultures form and manage themselves. And utilizing the dream world as an additional landscape to do emotional work and to find purpose and meaning and to go on adventures is a great way to explore and to honor that moon in Sagittarius energy. So also I have here a beautiful lotus flower, and I feel that it has a very potent message for us right now, which is to really activate our dream consciousness. And the dream consciousness is what we tap into when we understand how to lucid dream, or when we understand how to remember and write down our dreams from the night, and to look at the symbolism and to extract meaning from them that then helps us move forwards on our path. But dream consciousness is also understanding how to work with active dreaming, active imagining, daydreaming, and to really understand that dreaming is also a form of traveling and expanding the horizons. The dream is a way to go and explore. Active imagining is also a form of doing therapy work, of doing philosophical work, of doing scientific research of the occult realms of symbolism and mythology, of the psyche and psychology. So active imagining and dreaming and using your imagination is also a form to understand more about yourself. And by going into a process of utilizing the consciousness of this beautiful flower, the consciousness of the lotus, it really can open up those dream spaces for us more potently and can help us open up that crown chakra, because that is our connection to the dream, to the subconscious. And the subconscious is sometimes called the unconscious. And I recently re-listened to something that Alan Watts said about the word unconscious being so often viewed or felt as something of low quality because of the word un. It's like conscious and not conscious. He prefers to utilize the word superconsciousness because it's not even not conscious, but it's unconscious in the sense that we don't typically access it. It's kind of beyond our consciousness. It's a super consciousness where everything you are doing is really being done by this bigger consciousness. For example, your body, your breathing, your heartbeat, your digestive system, all of the processes of the blood cleansing itself, of the hormones creating certain experiences, certain emotions, and of your body understanding the natural rhythms and the signals in life to activate a certain process of making you tired to go to sleep or making you awake to get up in the morning. All of this is being done by this super consciousness that you are. And I really like that, using the words super consciousness instead of unconscious. And I believe that that's also what happens in the dream realm. It's like a super realm in which we can explore a lot of the consciousness that we actually have access to. Venus in conjunction with Uranus is also really an invitation to stay open for surprises. First of all, when we experience a surprise that, for example, we don't want, it's good because it's showing you what you do want, yeah? It's bringing you closer to your vision, to your desire, because you have more information, you have more data. So now you know more of what you don't want, and that's great because it helps you eliminate things out of your belief system about yourself. But then when we bring in the wisdom of Sagittarius, when we bring in the wisdom of Neptune and Pisces, of those bigger pictures and the bigger dreams and the bigger visions, when we bring in the wisdom of Pluto and Aquarius, then we can understand that with certain actions and in certain timings, that all of those things will connect actually to our true and deeper desires when we start embodying our own truth in a more radical way, which is also Uranus. It's a radical, rebellious energy. And Venus is what you desire, what you love, so it's your truth. It's the honesty of your soul choosing its expressions. Venus is the law of attraction that is manifesting in your life right now. So things that are not true will start suddenly breaking away, which is, and I mean not true to your true desire, and things will just start breaking away because Uranus is just taking them out of the picture. And also the things that suddenly happen will give you feedback and data on what it is that you are manifesting, what you are attracting. And depending on what you are attracting, you have more data to understand things about your belief system, your value system, and what you think you can have, what you think you want, what you are allowing yourself to feel, what you are allowing yourself to envision, what you are allowing yourself to be expressed, to be received, to be felt, and to be enjoyed, and your internal process with life, with pleasure and joy and abundance, and how you interpret the life around you in order to understand how to program your frequency in the way that you can actually start attracting the things that you do want, the things that you really do want. So all information is essentially good because it's data. But understanding how to work with that data is evoking the scientist, and that is evoking the High Priestess archetype. I will share how that connects in a moment. I just wanted to invite this little flower in, probably because Venus is in Taurus, so it's nice to look at beautiful things in nature and to touch them and sense them and smell them. And Mercury's also in Taurus, so here I am talking about it. And another really important aspect that we have right now is the Sun is in trine and the Moon is in sextile with Pluto. And this highlights that what we're experiencing right now with this full moon is in an expansive, big, flowing energy with our evolutionary process. And Pluto is in retrograde motion right now, taking a moment to revisit some of the topics that have already been there. Process is being highlighted again to really finish up the cycle and to really tie everything together and make sense of it. So this process right now, where we have so many planets in direct communication with each other, discussing and sharing their ideas and writing new plans. At the same time, we have this expansive trine and sextile with the full moon axis to Pluto. It really shows us how in favor all of these happenings are for our evolutionary path. And that it's really something that when we lean into it, we can start noticing how it can be beautiful, how it can be helpful, how it can be nourishing, especially because the moon is in sextiles. The energy sometimes really needs to be consciously evoked in order to be very present. And in order to really feel this in our emotions, to not just tell ourselves that, yeah, it's gonna be great, but to feel why it's gonna be amazing, an amazing adventure. In order to do that, we really have to recognize this Pluto in Aquarius. We really have to understand how to look beyond what we have been taught and to look beyond what we think we know and to really utilize our own individual way of seeing the world and of being so that we can make the most sense of it for us, for you personally. You need to make sense for yourself. You don't need to tell others why this makes sense. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You need to help yourself make sense of things so that you can reclaim your own joy in life, so that you can reclaim the connection to your visions, so that you can reclaim the inner knowing of what to do next and the inner stability of how to move forwards and not moving forwards from a place of just having random thoughts that you collect all over the place, which is kind of a Gemini theme, but moving from a place that really connects with nourishment of something having a bigger meaning in the bigger sense. And that is the Sagittarius element. And I feel that this is beautifully reflected as well in the tarot. There are many ways that people interpret or assign the number cards of the major arcanum and the astrological signs of the zodiac. And they can all like somehow make sense. If you can give a good reasoning, then we can make sense of it. Because life is not just one perspective, it's usually a multitude of perspectives, and depending on what you're searching for, this approach may be better or that approach may be better. But yeah, I have my own approach for how to connect the major arcanum with all of the zodiac signs. My connection for the sign of Gemini is the High Priestess, and you can see her here. She's sitting in between the pillars, and this is, by the way, the writer Wade Smith Tarot. She really embodies all of the Hermetic principles, which for me connects a lot with Gemini, and that's where our consciousness is right now. That's where we can understand, where we can have rational access, and things that we can identify with. Vibrations, understanding how things move in the universe and how things are kind of interdependent, and that's exactly what these Hermetic laws teach us about. And at the same time, she also really focused on cycles and understands that things are always in movement, which is also what Gemini knows how to do. It's understanding that there will always be a polarity and a movement in between those polarities. So that there is this space in between the polarity where we can become almost silent. And within that silence is where the true creation happens. It's kind of like the paradox. And it's the silence that is the first sound of creation. And that's something that we have a hard time grasping. And it's a paradox. And that's what Gemini is also about. It's about paradoxes. But yeah, the High Priestess is an archetype that is really committed and dedicated to studying here the laws of life and studying. And she's almost like a modern, or not a modern, she's also an ancient scientist. So it's about the science of life and doing research and wanting to understand, wanting to know. It's about the thirst for knowledge, because it's the consciousness that is flowing and wants to reflect, wants to know, wants to experience, wants to be seen. It's like a thirst for life. And maybe that's why we use the word thirsty also in connection with drinking, because the waters of life are the waters of consciousness. And she needs to find, this archetype needs to find a centered perspective. And it doesn't matter, I'm saying she and he sometimes, but all of these energies are inside every single one of you. It doesn't matter what your gender expression is, or it doesn't matter how you want to identify yourself. You have the High Priestess inside of you. You have a yin energy inside of you. And this High Priestess is connected to that yin. So this is where the sun is sitting. And right across from that, the moon in Sagittarius. The card that I connect with Sagittarius is this one. It's the card of justice, and it's the card number 8. And actually in most ancient decks, it is also written as the number 8, but in this deck, for some reason, they made it the card number 11. So I allowed myself to simply change that because, that's not how I work with the tarot. But I do love the cards and the symbolism. So anyways, this is the number 8, and I connect this with Sagittarius because it's really about, you can see how similar these cards are, these figures, how they're sitting, how they're looking, but here we have the archetype really focusing on collecting wisdom. And this archetype is also seen only with the left hand, which is about receiving and gathering. And the right hand, the hand of action, is actually not even to be seen anywhere here. But in this card, the right hand of action really is holding up a sword. And these actions and the swords, which is the mental realm, are being combined. They're being utilized, while the receiving hand and the hand of the intuition is making sure to stay balanced. I'm sorry, this is not so sharp. You can just research the card online, or even better, if you have your own deck of cards, no matter which card deck, a tarot deck, you can just pull out your Justice card and your High Priestess card, and then you can just look at those cards and see what symbolism is there, and that will help you to find even deeper meaning. And because every artist brings in their own personal wisdom into each deck that is created. So this Justice archetype is representing exactly what Sagittarius represents to me, which is really finding out the direction in life and finding out how to utilize all of that infinite potential, and to do that with applied wisdom. Yeah, to do that in a harmonious way, and to be able to filter the thoughts through the scales here, to be able to direct the energy in a balanced way. And that is what Sagittarius does. It's not just roaming around, but it's aimed at purpose. And this Justice card is also aimed at purpose. It's the purpose of justice in this case. And you can see that here the pillars are black and white, which is like the Gemini polarity. It's like either this or that, and I can see both and talking about the dual world. Whereas here the pillars are gray, because this duality has kind of been transcended, and it's not about finding out right or wrong anymore. It's understanding that both things matter and are part of something bigger, and about trying to just make sense of the bigger picture. And that is where our emotional core sits right now. So this Justice archetype is really dedicated to finding the proper application of thoughts, of action, of energy. The red is also representing the action and the divine spark and the spark of initiation. And to do that with a certain poise, to do that with a certain balanced personality, and really merging these two archetypes together. So we have our consciousness here that really is working also with traveling into the subconscious realm. And we have our moon, our cyclical self, and the nourishment that we want to receive right now. We will receive it through applying what we find, what we discover, into the bigger picture, into the bigger meaning. And you also know this is the 8, so the 8 is also the infinity symbol, right? So to really applying it to those bigger, more infinite cycles in a balanced way. This card is also about measuring what is the state of the art of your karmic present right now. So kind of weighing the truth of yourself and weighing the integrity with which you apply this Gemini energy, which is also speech and communication. How do you speak? How do you communicate to yourself also? Not just out loud, but your thoughts, and communicating your nervous system, your body chemistry, and communicating with the exterior world. And another way in which this is being reflected right now is if we look at the Sabian symbols for where this sun and moon full moon is taking place right now. The Sabian symbols, if you don't know, they are channeled symbols. I forgot the name of the person who channeled them, but I love working with them because they're very mythological, very poetic, and they may not resonate with everyone, but you can also make your own symbols and just channel your own symbols for 365 degrees and make your own Sabian symbols by utilizing that to check in what is happening in certain degrees, and then looking out for what that symbol that you channeled means to you. Like, I feel like divination is sometimes thought to be as something that you have to study a whole lifetime to be able to make sense of things, but actually it's more about the studying is great because it activates your imagination. It activates your wisdom and it brings things into perspective. But really, divination and understanding the chart is mainly research, noticing, witnessing, observing, and bringing in your personal understanding, your personal wisdom. So any practice that you have that becomes personal for you is going to have the greatest effect for you because you're utilizing your own unique wisdom. Using the concept of the Sabian symbols, where the full moon sits right now, the image is of two people playing chess. And it really tells us of these applied archetypes that we find in games and that we find in like sports and anything that humans kind of do to play things out, rituals even, that kind of express our needs and our stories of evolution as humans on this journey. So with the game of chess, we have the black and the white, but usually you switch sides every time you start a new game. So it's like there's black and white, but you're gonna experience both. There's like 6 different types of figures, 6 also being a number connected to polarity, and like the 2 trinities that are opposing each other, and that are also able to merge and unify, and that are the lovers as well. So we have these different figures, different archetypes, each of them can express in different ways, and the goal is to kind of capture or checkmate the king, which the king is often represented as like the ego consciousness in the symbolism, in the world of symbolism. So we can see with this game that in order to be a good or a better chess player, usually the aim is to understand more strategy, understand how to make better like prognostics, how to make better guesses at what the other person might play and how that may affect you, and be able to see already in advance many of the movements and how the bigger game may evolve. Like the chess grandmasters, they understand how this one next move is going to impact the whole game for the next couple of minutes or hours or until the end. And some people may be more intuitive or less technical, but more, I don't remember terminology from chess, but there's different approaches to chess, and generally it's about understanding what to do, what will be the best move. Sometimes you go more into passive moves, and sometimes you go more into active, more dominant moves. And while learning such a game, you're also learning for life. And because this game is life, it's representing life. And so these kind of strategic decisions and weighing out, and sometimes in chess also you decide maybe to give a piece kind of as an offering or sacrifice, because you understand that actually that won't matter so much later on, and instead you're gonna focus on this strategy here, and then you can still win. And by winning, I don't mean it as a battle, but I mean it more as winning in the sense of reaching your own fulfillment, reaching your purpose, and because we're translating it to life. So we're speaking on the soul level here. And actually, it's funny I just said that, because that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're taking these Gemini words, terminology, speech, and we're like, yeah, I know what this word means, I know what that word means. And then we're adding in the complement wisdom, the intuition, yeah, because the moon is there, of Sagittarius, which is like, let's remember that we're speaking about the soul. So let's remember that, yeah, we use the word winning for this and that, but it's not just about these two polarities. Let's bring it into a bigger life philosophy where we use it as a metaphor, where we use it as a poem, where we use it as a guiding light for a big excursion. The other symbol, where the sun is sitting right now, is speaking about the concept of formalization and assigning things certain patterns and symmetries, and the natural process that happens when we are in a state where we have a lot of new information that we're trying to integrate, and then we try to make sense of it, which is this black and white thinking. We're like, this needs to go there, this is right, this is wrong, I want a line here, a perfect line, and I want this shape there, and those shapes should be like together or apart. But it's about establishing these kind of rules and these kind of laws that then later on in the cycle Sagittarius is then again trying to kind of peek beyond those rules and those laws, and really trying to expand the horizon beyond the conditioned belief system. So, but the sun right now is in this degree where the consciousness is moving through a desire to want to make sense of the information. So leading to this concept of formalizing things, of applying reason. And so let's remember that. Let's remember that reasoning is a natural and helpful thing for us to do, until we eventually reach the point where then we go to the other side of that, which could be now, which could be with this full moon, where we understand the intuitive wisdom of moving beyond what has been established. Because Sagittarius also comes right after Scorpio, so the moon has also been passing by, right, these days of intense transformation, intense shadow work, and yeah, going through having to roam through the realms of secrecy and manipulation, and is right now wanting to integrate all of those experiences into a bigger meaning. And sometimes this reasonable, logical desire of the rational mind that wants to have everything in perfect place does not help the moon to do that. So yeah, With the continuation of this week also, we will see the moon continue to travel, and it will form a trine, first with the North Node, then with Aries, and then with Chiron. So right in these next days, we're going to be able to really tap into the intuitive wisdom of all of those characters, of all of those planets and points. Yeah, and in a couple of days, in like 6 days, it's going to travel right in conjunction with Pluto, where we then get to have that exciting conversation about the big evolutionary changes that are undergoing in your life right now. So as always, this is quite a lot of information, and I feel one of the best things that will help right now is to activate and shine some light on the area of inspiration, of discovery, allowing your inner discovery mode to be turned on, both in the small and in the big ways. So analyzing the details and allowing yourself to be inspired in your immediate environment, and maybe also allowing yourselves to expand your horizons by learning something new, indulging in a different kind of philosophy, or if you have the means to, also maybe traveling outside of your normal living area. And yeah, allowing the inspiration of new thoughts, of new ideas to be processed into the container of a bigger purpose that is connected and in alignment with your destiny, moving you towards the goal, towards that spark that you've been feeling of how you wish your life would continue, that spark, because that is the new life. It's how you wish your life would continue. And Mars is there, understanding what can be done. Yeah, and bringing all that information into alignment there, understanding what radical changes need to be made in the realm of what you value, why you give it value, how you express those desires in the physical level. So changing your idea of physicality. I think that's one of the big things that we're also experiencing right now collectively with all of this new information and this increase of energy and electric energy and waves and AI technology and all of these transformations that we're going through. We are also transitioning into understanding more about non-physical realms and including those worlds more and more into our reality. So yeah, it's a good moment to reflect on your values. Use the dream realm during the night, or active dreaming, active imagining. And yeah, I'm sure there's more, but I feel maybe that's not the focus for right now. And it's also the chatty Gemini, fast-paced, back and forth energy that the sun is highlighting right now, that just wants to go more and more and more. And Jupiter and Venus in conjunction also want more and more. They want to feel more of this aha and of this ooh and of this but the moon needs to move forwards, and so that's what we're gonna do here. If this resonated with you in any way, feel free to give it a thumbs up, give it a like, or to share in the comments about what you experienced listening or what is going on in your realm, in your life with these transits, and share your own wisdom so that we can all learn from each other. And if you would like to understand more about how this is playing out in your own life, in your own chart, or you want some guidance with anything that you're experiencing, you can feel free to contact me for some personal readings. I will link everything below so that you can find it. If you're enjoying the channel, I invite you to subscribe and to return. We have a new moon in 2 weeks, so life just keeps flowing. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your curiosity, for your time, and for the space that we shared here. Share this video with anyone you want to inspire, and I wish you a beautiful moment of integration and expansion. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.